Have you ever felt that the anatomy of eye looks complicated only because you don't know how to draw it? Welcome to Pharma Palette, where anatomy meets clarity with colors. Today we are starting another important topic from human anatomy and physiology, which is the anatomy of eye, its structure, labeling, and the functions of each part. In this video, we won't just study the anatomy, we will draw the eye step by step and learn the functions of every labeled part simultaneously. So your brain connects the diagram, labeling, and the function together. By the end of this video, you will not only understand the eye clearly, but you also feel confident to draw and label it in your exams without any confusion. Before knowing the structure of the eye, we need to know some important points about it. So first, eyeball is mainly for an healthy individual. For the adult, the eyeball will be of 2.5 centimeter in diameter, and this eyeball wall is having three main layers. They are: one is fibrous tunic, vascular tunic, and the retina. So in the fibrous tunic, it will be including cornea and sclera. In vascular tunic, it has iris and ciliary body, and in the retina, it is also called as inner tunic. So these are the three main layers. Now let's get into the structure in detail. This outermost part, this black colored one, we will be calling it as the cornea. So coming back to this cornea, it is the transparent layer, and this layer will be refracting the light and also protects the eye. And coming to the next part, inside this cornea there is one space. There is some space inside this cornea, so which is called as the anterior cavity. It is simply the space which is filled within the aqueous humor. So this is the space which is filled with the aqueous humor. And aqueous humor, it is the fluid that is useful for nourishing the eye structures, and it will be maintaining the intraocular pressure. Inside this anterior cavity only, we have two other structures. One is the anterior chamber and the posterior chamber. Coming to this anterior chamber, this chamber is present between the cornea and the iris. So between the cornea and iris, that space we will be calling it as anterior chamber. Coming back to this posterior chamber, this is a chamber or a space that is present between the iris and the lens. Between iris and the lens, whatever may be the space present, that will be called as posterior chamber. These green colored structures are called as iris. So iris is simply, it is the pigmented muscle. Iris is the pigmented muscle that will be controlling the pupil size and light entry. I repeat, so iris, this green colored part is the iris, that is a pigmented muscle that controls the pupil size and light entry. And coming to the middlemost part, this part is called as the lens. So lens is also a transparent structure that focuses light onto the retina. So lens is the transparent structure that focuses the light onto the retina. And coming back to this orange colored structure, we will be completely calling it as a ciliary body. So now what is the ciliary body? So this ciliary body, it is this orange colored part is called as ciliary body, and this is mainly the part which will be producing the aqueous humor. Thereby it will be supporting the lens attachment as well. And this ciliary body is having two things. One is ciliary muscle and ciliary processes. So what is ciliary muscle? Ciliary muscle will be altering the lens shape for accommodation. Whereas the ciliary process, it will be secreting the aqueous humor and anchors the jonular fibers. So jonular fibers are a kind of suspensory ligaments that will be useful for holding the lens in position. So for the lens to get holded in the position, this jonular fibers are needed. Now we are done with these structures. Now let's go into the next part of the diagram. This yellow colored space, This portion we will be calling it as retina. So retina, it is a part that is very light sensitive layer. So retina is called as light sensitive layer that will be converting the light into the nerve impulses. So retina, this yellow colored portion is called as retina. This is a light sensitive layer that will be converting the light into the nerve impulses. This violet colored layer, we will be calling it as the choroid layer. So the next part is choroid. So below this retina, there will be choroid layer. So choroid layer, it is also called as a vascular layer. So this is useful for supplying the nutrients to the retina. So choroid is a vascular layer that is useful for supplying the nutrients to the retina. So sclera is one of the toughest outer coat that will be protecting and maintaining the eye shape. Along with that, there are few muscles inside it. So which is called as the lateral rectus muscle. Now this lateral rectus muscle is mainly useful for, so it will help the eyeball to move laterally. We can also call it as abduction. For the process of abduction, this lateral rectus muscle is used. Right? So these structures, we will be calling it as the ora serrata. The ora serrata. So ora serrata is a junction which will be marking the anterior limit of retina. In this eyeball, at this position, we can see one depressed portion. We will be calling it as the fovea centralis. It is called as fovea centralis. So what does that fovea centralis do? So fovea centralis, it is a region of the highest visual acuity containing only cones. That means it is one of the area where it will only contain cones inside it. So the use of these cones and rods we will be getting to know in the physiology. So this fovea centralis, it is a small depression that is seen on the eyeball. So this region, it is having the highest visual acuity which is containing only cones. So this space we can call it as macula lutea. It is called as macula lutea. So what is macula lutea? It is an area that is responsible for this sharp central vision. So this area is responsible for sharp central vision. Optic nerve 2, it is simply the cranial nerve 2. This will be transmitting the visual impulses from the retina to the brain. So this optic nerve, it will be transferring the visual impulses from the retina to the brain. And so this central retinal artery and vein, this will be supplying and draining the blood from the inner retina. So this will supply and drain the blood from the inner retina. So this position, we will be having one optic disc. So this optic disc, we can also call it as a blind spot. Optic disc is also called as blind spot. Optic nerve will be exiting the eye. So that is called as the optic disc. So whatever may be the space that is present here, we will be calling it as vitreous chamber. The space inside the retina, we will be calling it as the vitreous chamber. So what is this vitreous chamber? So this is a space that is filled with the vitreous humor that will be maintaining the eye shape. So hyaloid canal is this middlemost part. So we can call it as a remnant channel that once carried fetal blood supply. And even in this side, we will be having one muscle. We will be calling it as the medial rectus muscle. So the outside the eyeball, we are having one more layer we will be calling it as a bulbar conjunctiva, and this layer is a thin membrane that will be useful for covering the sclera, that will also lubricate and protects the eye. This cornea region only, we have one small depression over here, right? So this portion we can call it as the scleral venous sinus, or the scleral venous sinus can also be called as canal of scalum. So this is mainly useful for draining the aqueous humor to maintain the intraocular pressure. Here we will be also having one sac. So this sac we will be calling it as lacrimal sac. This is called as lacrimal sac. So lacrimal sac will be collecting the tears before draining into the nasal cavity. Coming to one of the most important portion of this eye, this space, we will be calling it as the pupil. Pupil is the opening that regulates the amount of light entering the eye. So that's it about the eye. So remember, anatomy becomes easy when you draw and learn together. If you understand where each part is placed, what exactly it does, labeling is no longer a memorization, it will be a logic. So use this method, draw, label, write one line function, and your exam answers are already half done. In the next video, we will take the structure and move one step deeper. We will discuss the detailed physiology of vision step by step in a clear exam oriented way. If this video helped you learn smarter, do not forget to like, subscribe, share it with your study partner. Until then, keep learning with colors, clarity, and confidence. See you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.